Thanks for joining us for part 2 of this MTN special honoring heritage exclusively on MTN streaming. I'm Diane Parker. November is Native American Heritage Month, and we're celebrating the rich culture of Montana's indigenous communities. We're looking now at a map of Montana's 7 American Indian reservations, and each of those have tribes on those lands. Now, our journalists have spent the past year traveling to and from Montana reservations, telling these one-of-a-kind stories featuring Native history, culture, and the hard-hitting issues facing indigenous populations today. And one man working extremely hard to preserve that culture is here with us today. He is a former member of the Crow Tribal Council, and he's joining us now on set. Sean Backbone, we want to thank you so much for being here today. And he is also the Crow Fair powwow manager. He has some stats, some numbers, perspective for us today. So hi, Sean, and thanks for coming down today to chat with us.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So Sean, we know Crow Fair is each August. This is something that you're extremely involved with. And the next year marks the 104th annual Crow Fair. This is, of course, a huge deal. I know that you and your team, you're all putting a lot of work into this, a lot of effort. There's a lot of cultural history on display at this event. If you've ever been to it, we'll catch up more with you in just a minute, but first let's go straight to the scene. We're going to look at the 103rd Crow Fair to get a better idea about its cultural significance. Here's MTN's Alina Howder.
I'm here at the teepee capital of the world, the annual 103rd Crow Fair, where I spoke to 4 generations of one family on how they keep their Crow traditions alive.
I learned how to make this from my older sister.
Mary Howe Not Afraid has attended the Crow Fair her entire life. She's the official pan-bred cook at her family's camp.
I wasn't in there, right? When we wake up, we start cooking, and then when we're done cooking breakfast, we start with lunch. And after lunch, we start with supper.
Over 30 of her family members are camped out at the Crow Fair this year. Her father, Robert Sargi Howe, has attended for over 50 years.
We want to keep our own culture going, our own language, our ideology, and our beliefs, our mores. We want to make sure that a lot of that is retained to some extent.
And part of tradition is the setup of teepees at campsites. Macy Hogan gave me a tour of her teepee.
The teepee poles probably took like 40 minutes. And then putting this on, we put it on right after, so that kind of takes like 20 minutes.
It takes hours to set up a single teepee. Macy and the other grandkids actually shaved the teepee poles before they were put up.
It comes off of a tree that we cut down, and we have to take off the knots off of the tree.
That's just one aspect of the Crow Fair. Parades and powwows are a huge part of the nearly week-long event. Ashley Goodluck showed me some of her parade regalia.
This here is my elk tooth dress, made up of wool and elk teeth. There's probably about 300 of them on here.
Leggings, belts, hats, jewelry, and moccasins are all beaded by hand.
Anytime I go to a powwow or contest, this is what I wear.
Getting the family together is cause for celebration, but they're also remembering those who have passed. 29-year-old Ferlin Blacksmith was killed in a car accident in 2020. He was a talented Indian relay rider.
He wasn't just a rider, he was a horseman.
His siblings Chanel Hogan and DeAndre Blacksmith are also part of Indian relay teams. Ferlin taught them everything they know, and they're grateful they can pass it along to the younger generations.
We're just trying to send it off to the next generation and make sure that the kids know about this. It's not just competition, it's family, it's fun.
In Crow Agency, Alina Howder, MTN News.
All right, well, I know that this is a huge event. It draws thousands of people. How many folks are going to Crow Fair every year?
Oh, there's a lot. I'd say about 20,000, 25,000, give and take on each day.
Yeah, and it really has gained the nickname. It's the teepee capital of the world, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It is the teepee capital of the world.
All right, so with permission, we have published the entire written history of the Absalika traditions at Crow Fair. That's on your local MTN website. All you have to do is search this special, which is called Honoring Heritage. So Sean is here to give us a little bit more of that historical background, but if you'd like to read that for yourself, it is published in its entirety on your local MTN website. So talk to us about when Crow Fair began. It was back in the early 1900s. And it may not be quite the story that folks realize of how it all began. Tell us about that.
Yeah, in 1904, there was a Indian agent, Reynolds, wanted to get all the farmers and the Crow their goods, I guess, in vegetables and all of that together, so they could come together and see who has the best garden products and all of that. So when that happened, you know, there was horse racing involved. There was some competition, and then the hot dancers brought in their big drum and they, you know, started the singing, and you know, it kind of turned out to every year it kind of pushed it towards Crow Fair and a camping, and we work very hard to have fun.
Right, it's such a fun event, and this, of course, we are looking at video from the very first ever Crow Fair. The story that we hear from Putt, who's located at Crow Agency at the Trading Post. He helped us out with this video. We want to give him a thank you for that. And this is in the Smithsonian. It was actually almost to be thrown away, found in the landfill in Red Lodge, but they dug it up, and amazing to look at. So if you'd like to know more about the first ever Crow Fair, there is a little bit more history in that written history. The event was originally designed to showcase the successful assimilation of the people of the Crow population of the tribes, but astute Apsaalooka, they knew that the world press would report it as a violation of human rights. So Crow Fair, as we know it today, showcasing all of this rich culture and history that was born, and I know you can read more about that. We also want to thank Dale Oldhorn, advisor on cultural affairs and tribal policy, and Chairman Frank Whiteclay. I know they helped us out, provided this, and
Yes,
anyone can go and read the full history as well.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you for that feedback there. Well, for Native Americans living in urban settings, they often do not receive an Indigenous name, but one Montana school is changing that. Here's MTN's Brianna Juneau.
Those spirits on the other side come.
New to the Indigenous Education Department in Great Falls, a new program was born to give Native students a name. And it's not just any name.
Just happy and grateful that I am going to be named and have a name.
Oki ni tani kupita sapuaki. I just said, hello, my name is Eagle Plume Woman in Blackfeet. There is something special about receiving an Indigenous name. And now that the Indigenous Education Department have just successfully held their first naming ceremony, many local Native students will be able to feel that pride in receiving their own.
We're going to be doing a celebration of giving out these Indian names so that these kids can be more connected with the tribes that they come from.
To receive a name is to be connecting with their culture in a way that might not have been possible if it wasn't for the opportunity within the school system.
Most of the kids that I talk to here in Great Falls, being urban Indians, they never had the opportunity to get a name. And so my job is to provide cultural opportunities to Native American kids in the Great Falls Public Schools. And this was something that needed to happen. So that's why we're having this naming ceremony.
The students felt an entire range of emotions before the ceremony started.
Kind of a mix of excited and nervous.
Nervous, but I'm grateful for it. Happy.
I would say it's very special. You feel more connected to your tribe when you get that name.
The naming ceremony was able to give names to around 30 kids. Prior to the ceremony, the students received questions so that they got matched with the perfect name.
It feels great. You know, it's just one of those things where you feel really good about being able to do this.
A tradition for graduating Native seniors is to receive a beaded eagle feather and have an elder of a Montana tribe bless it to put on their graduation cap.
So I saw kids that were at this height of I'm getting this eagle feather kind of get let down. And so I want to save kids that and give them these names.
The Indigenous Education Department will continue to support kids and their journey of connecting with their Indigenous roots.
I feel really good about it, and I think my staff feels great about it. This is an opportunity for us all to help celebrate the kids that we work with and the families here in Great Falls to get better connected.
In Great Falls, Brianna Juneau, MTN News.
All right, and of course there is huge cultural significance of names. Here to tell us more about that, of course, Sean Backbone. And you have quite the name yourself with quite the history. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my Crow name, my Apsaalooka name is Owagoda Chewagya, one who prays all over the land. It was bestowed to me by a World War II veteran. His name is George Batbear. He's gone now. And his story is when he was in World War II and where he fought in the mountains and the plains or wherever he was, and wherever he woke up, every morning he woke up and he prayed to the Almighty that he would go through this battle. And he came home without a scratch on his body, and he came home in good mind, you know, good health. And with that good fortune he had in the midst of battle, he bestowed that name to me. He said, "I will go down to you," and he prayed over me and did all that. And he said he bestowed me that name, so I walked that name. I lived that name. I go everywhere. I pray. You know, it doesn't have to be in a church setting, but it's in my heart and in my soul. So that's the way it is bestowed upon me. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty incredible story, and you can see in Brianna Juno's story just the pride that those students have when they were given their names. So, all right, well, thank you for sharing that with us. There is also some significance in the naming of places, and folks may not know names for, let's say, buildings.
Yep.
And this is something that the Crow tribe helps to preserve culture through the Crow princesses, which there's about a dozen of, who their main job is to preserve cultural history. We're looking at some of them there at Crow Fair, last year's 103rd Crow Fair. There's this year's Miss Crow Fair in the middle, Macaria Pine. So talk to us about the names and the quizzes that you give these Crow princesses when they're in the pageant.
Yeah, it was Diana Three Irons. She had that thought. She said, let's give them these questions to preserve the culture. So the questions were picked from a hat, and they said the questions stated, what's Yellowstone River called in Crow language? And they say it's Elk River. What is Billings called in our language? And they'll say Malabushka, where the sawmill was, where they cut the wood.
Okay.
And different significances like that, which is preserving our culture that they know. So yeah, it was pretty good.
All right. Good. Yeah, very good. A lot of interesting history there. I know this dress, for example, that I'm wearing today, this is a Chokecherry Creek design. Angela Howe Parrish has this fashion line, and Chokecherry Creek, she let me know that that is what is now known as Bozeman. So a lot of history in the names there. Yep. Okay, well, we will be right back.
We went to all the powwows when we were young. At that time, children could not dance. Only people over 50 years of age could dance. Most people do not know this, that the government forbid children to dance Indian. And that was so they could wipe out the culture and the young people, and then finally the new generation would never know what happened, never know what happened.
And welcome back to our MTN streaming special exclusively here. It is called Honoring Heritage. We're so glad that you're joining us. I'm Diane Parker, and joining us on set today we have Sean Backbone. He is the Crow Fair powwow manager, as well as a former Crow Tribal Council member, and it's so great to have you here with us today. So we were just watching a music video provided to us by Superman, and he is an artist who's really hit the worldwide stage. Very, very popular rapper and dancer as well. And a lot of his music, as you can hear right there, it has some education, it has some history in it. We want to know, Sean, how significant are Native artists who are out there and hitting that worldwide stage?
I think it's pretty good on the contemporary side, but the information they have with the social media and today's younger youth, they really reflect to that. They really go to that. So I think it's kind of brings out the sense of being indigenous. Yep.
Right, right. So talk to us a little bit more about what we heard right there in his song. That song was called Ethnocide. This is a pretty heavy topic, but it's something that Superman is trying to educate folks on.
Yeah, it's I guess to really reiterate culture and what we believe in, and to bring out us, who we are as an Apsaloga or any other indigenous people. With saying that, it's important. Right now, we're losing our language, our everything that who we are. It's disseminating, and with this, I think to bring it back with the language, the culture, the dance, and everything, pertaining to that, even Crow Fair. I mean, we're making a really big pushback to grasp all that right now.
Right, and I think we were chatting a little bit earlier before the show, and there's about 15,000 members of the Crow tribe, give or take, you said. And how many of those fluently speak the native language?
Right now we are in preservation mode. I'd say about 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the role of folks out there to preserve cultural history, whether it's the Crow princesses that we showed you earlier in the show, even in part 1 of this show, or whether it's musical artists and folks getting out there on the worldwide stage, all very, very critical, right, Sean?
Very.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to show you the full music video that Superman produced in partnership with the Montana Film Office this year. It was filmed on Absalica land, and it features native actors.
Hello. Shoda. Kahe. Hinababa izagusa. Disjisilla.
Disaba. Shogalalo.
Balaja weage machla. Superman hook.
Superman.
Baba. Alagosa. Kogukau bau. Biak de shik. Biak balachik.
Kotuk balakhe.
Hinababa bala e balay bilakbag. Hana awa was a cat chikatala. Dagolik. Dagwa. The shiptala. Diluk dilak. O chiptala.
Can't rest until I accomplish what I was sent to do. Don't be blind, we're getting closer to God. In a tight situation, this hip-hop, and we's a nation.
All my people, come on, come on, come on. All the ladies, come on, come on, come on. Everybody, come on, say everything's gonna be alright. Like Bob Marley say, wake up and we start to praise. How we start the day, we fall from fake to shards of clay. Everybody come and walk this way, and yo, well, let him hear. Let go of all your stress and fear. And yo, I'm trying to have the best this year. Your blessings near, yeah. So let's be clear. Life is short, it ain't lasting long. So I'm rapping strong until the passion's gone. And leave a legacy and pass batons. And when I'm passing on, remember me, yo, but blast this song. Come on.
Every day we get up and fight. We choose to be the light. Everything gonna be alright.
Can't rest until I accomplish what I was sent to do. Don't be blind, we're getting closer to God. In a tight situation, this hip-hop, and we's a nation.
Everything gonna be alright. Alright, alright, alright. Everything gonna be alright. Alright, alright, alright. Everything gonna be alright. 'Cause if I fall 7 times, I know I'ma get up 8. I know I'ma get up 8. I won't be afraid. No, 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 no. I'ma keep going. Yeah.
Can't rest until I accomplish what I was sent to do. Don't be blind, we're getting closer to God. In a tight situation, this hip-hop, and we's a nation.
Welcome to Mother Earth, where hurt people, and the birds are still chirping on the church steeple. Reverse the curse, set reverse lethal. I ride rhymes, let my light shine, watch me murk evil. Y'all keep holding on, I know you're strong, because life is really what you focus on. So skip the hatred, it's dangerous how to get each other. We're manipulated, Cambridge Analytica. I don't know who needs to hear this, but don't be mad at me. You wanna change the world, go home and love your family.
Don't worry,
Go home and love your family.
don't worry, everything's gonna be, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. About a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. 'Cause if I fall 7 times, I know I'ma get up 8. I know I'ma get up 8. I won't be afraid. No, no, no,
And he's off in the DeLorean. I don't know, Sean. Should we do a little dance party? Made me feel like dancing in my chair here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, as we head to break, we want to show you another film that features a Lakota actor who lives in Bozeman. Now, he was first featured in Dances with Wolves and now plays an authentic Lakota role in many movies. Lakota primarily live in North Dakota, but also reside on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation in northeastern Montana.
I'm Matt, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Matt.
Okay, Matt. What's your plan? Step 1, get sober. Step 2, I will finish the hutch. And step 3, I will stay sober for 30 days so that I can see my mom before she dies.
There was no garden when I was a child.
It's kind of tough being the new guy in the group, huh? Alcoholism, it's a family disease.
Not if they're not around.
Now I sow seeds. Now I pull weeds.
This dog is stress. You don't need stress right now.
I need this.
How about we give it a week?
Shut up!
Hey.
Well, there's nothing in the world an Alaskan Husky loves more than pulling.
Let's get a rig on him, see what he can do.
Are you serious? I thought we had a deal. I lean in and you respond.
Yupik is a very special name. He's a sensitive dog. And you will have to become sensitive too. Lean into that connection, okay?
Enough of this.
If there is a cure for addiction, it is someone you care for saying, "You're not alone."
Except for babies.
It was a monumental day in Crow country.
I'm all for revitalizing the Crow language.
Crow tribal members gathered from all over the state Friday to honor the hundreds of community members who contributed to the most comprehensive Crow language dictionary ever released.
Studies have shown that if students know their culture, their language, it develops a strong sense of identity.
Velma Pretty on Top Peas assisted in the recording and rapid word collection of the dictionary. Crow is her first language, but she says that's not the case with later generations.
The next generation, the numbers drop drastically.
The dictionary consists of over 11,000 Crow words and will be used as a tool for future generations to ensure the language endures.
What this means is that the Crow language is one of the best documented native languages in North America.
Dr. Timothy McCleary co-edited the Crow dictionary. He's been in the community for 30 years and knows the language, but he says he's not fluent.
The major difference between Crow and English is that Crow is what's called a tonal language, so much like a number of Asian languages.
None of this would have been possible without the Crow Language Consortium, a collective of Crow schools, colleges, and educators working to preserve the language. Kyle Oldelk helped translate Crow words into English for the dictionary. He's been working on this project since 2015, and Crow was his first language.
When I was in Head Start, we were told not to speak Crow, and then now it's to a point where they're encouraging it. I think it's really, it's got to happen for our language to survive.
And now, future generations of Crow tribal members will have a resource to keep their culture alive. In Crow Agency, Alina Howder, MTN News.
All right, and Sean Backbone, former Crow Fair Tribal Council member and Crow Fair powwow manager, joining us again on set. So how significant is this language loss, and is enough being done to preserve it?
Yeah, it's really significant right now. There's a lot of tribal members that don't speak the language, and then there's ones that do speak the language, and it has to do with an age gap. And the younger generation do not, but there's a middle generation, I think about 30 to 40 years old, and they visit amongst themselves. So the preservation part is really important. There's a big push right now. There's a language preservation summit here on December 8th and 9th at MSU Billings. And the dictionary and Everyday Crow, there's even an app out there that you can go to. Whatever you need to know in Crow, song and dance is there. So it's very important.
Okay, very important. And I know there's a lot of work being done by a lot of folks to help preserve that culture, preserve that language. And you are one of the folks who's helping out with a lot of that. So thank you for everything that you're doing as well. What else can we do to honor our heritage via language?
If you get a chance, go visit a museum or like the Crow Nation Express or some Indian business where they can kind of do some economic development there, economics wise. But it's all there. We're happy to share if it's been the questions asked, and we'll share what we have with you to preserve it as we go. So thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today with us, Sean. And from all of us here at MTN, thanks for joining us for this special Honoring Heritage. If you didn't catch part one, you can watch it right here on the streaming app. And remember, you can help honor heritage by supporting Native-owned businesses, taking a trip to the reservation, and visiting local museums as well.